Thousands of these refugees have cheated death twice. First at the hands of ISIS militants, then from starvation on Mount Sinjar where they'd fled. Ali Juk escaped the mountain 5 days ago. He told us he saw helicopters on the mountaintop, but never any airdrops of food and water.
What was it like on the mountain?
The mountain is not good. We don't have water, we don't have food. The people there is very tired.
And he said people were dying. He knew he had to get his young family to safety elsewhere, even at the risk of running into ISIS fighters. Like many people we spoke with, he told us there are still thousands of Yazidis who are trapped or too weak to leave.
They are the people who were there. They sweated out the weeks and months under the Middle Eastern sun. They saw friends ripped to pieces by IEDs. They were the ones going from house to house, putting their life on the line for a country and a people who far too often spit in their faces and told them to go away. Years later, as we deal with the aftermath of those American soldiers coming home either in pieces, emotionally shattered, or in coffins, these are the people we should be talking to about what we failed to do and what we need to be doing this time in Iraq to help everyone there. Welcome to MidPoint. Former Army helicopter pilot, Iraqi veteran, and advisor for the Concerned Veterans of America, Amber Barno, and former Staff Sergeant for the 82nd Airborne Division who served 2 tours in Iraq and currently a veterans advocate for the Minnesota chapter of the CVA, Jason Quick. Amber and Jason, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Jason, I'm going to begin with you here today. Is there any doubt in your mind that there is no concept of an endgame from this administration or anyone who possibly was involved in actually going into Iraq, and even to this day, we still may not have an idea, a solid idea of what to do and how to win?
That's a great question, and I think there's a complicated answer to that. What I can tell you is from my own personal experience being on the ground in this exact region, Mount Sinjar and the areas around there. When I left that country in 2010, it was by far the most secure environment I had ever seen in a combat zone. And I knew that it would stay that way because we were backfilled by another unit. So you can see that with a vacuum that was left when our military left that region, now a terrorist element has moved in and filled that vacuum. So I don't know what the end state is, but something has to be done.
Did you ever look at yourself and your fellow soldiers at any time, look at each other and say, what are we doing here? Not why are we here, but what are we doing here, and what are we doing to actually accomplish a job?
There were a lot of times where conversations along those lines would happen, yes. I think at the time, especially in that region, we realized that the lack of conflict was a direct result of our presence there. And like you can see now, when our presence is gone, there's conflict that has moved right back into that region. So while it may have seemed hard to find the point of what we were doing every single day, I think we all had a pretty good understanding that our presence provided security to that region and the people that live there.
Amber, let me bring you into this and ask you a little bit about the humanitarian side of this right now, because we just saw a soundbite leading in here that talked about what is going on with the Yazidi tribe right now. There are people who are concerned that this went on for far too long, that America actually claims to be getting involved because it's humanitarian, but then again, there are oil contractors. There are U.S. companies near Erbil, and we waited too long. We waited until this became an economic issue and didn't really think of the humanitarian side of this. How would you fall on that? Is that a fair criticism?
Well, I think it is the entire Iraq and Middle Eastern unrest that we're seeing right now, especially with ISIS moving into Iraq, is the result of a botched withdrawal from Iraq when Obama decided to cut and run, pull all U.S. forces without considering the repercussions and the consequences for pulling out too early, without leaving behind an Iraqi government that is able to defend itself. We're talking about a very small force that has been able to come into Iraq. They've gained strength and experience and arms in Syria, moved right into Iraq with almost little resistance. And so all of Obama's policies leading up to the point that we're in today has got us to this humanitarian crisis. And I think that the Obama administration significantly underestimated ISIS, the threat, and them making those strong advances that we've seen in Iraq so far.
Amber, from your experience being on the ground, were there commanders, people there in some form of authority, who wanted to say, or who did say to the people above them on the chain, this is wrong, we're not doing this right, we need to be here, we need to do something different at least, knowing full well that it wouldn't get done, but at least were there those people screaming and hollering and saying, let's get something done differently?
Well, I saw Iraq mostly from the air since I was a helicopter pilot, but from the people that I worked with, when we were in Afghanistan, when we were in Iraq, the war was more defined, as in we were working for a mission. We gave independence and freedom to the Iraqi people from a very ruthless dictator and murderer, and left the Iraqi people with a new government and hope, and the future was theirs. But the thing is that when you go and you essentially free a nation and provide them with all of these new opportunities, you have to help them understand and grow their government and be able to defend themselves, which they were not able to. When we spent years building up the Iraqi army in hopes that they would be able to prevent an ISIS type terrorist organization to come in and basically take advantage of a weak government. But that's exactly what happened. And the fact that the Obama administration and all of his advisors, and not learning from the past and everything that we've seen since we're basically having to fight this asymmetric warfare, the fact that they left too early just really goes to show you the ineptness with foreign policy and their inability to actually grasp basically the conflicts and the complexness of that region.
All right, I want you both to hear a soundbite here from the president. This was yesterday on Martha's Vineyard. He was talking about the American effort to help the Yazidis on Sinjar Mountain, claiming that it was a success. Listen up and I'll follow up.
Because the skill and professionalism of our military and the generosity of our people, we broke the ISIL siege of Mount Sinjar. We helped vulnerable people reach safety, and we helped save many innocent lives. Because of these efforts, we do not expect there to be an additional operation to evacuate people off the mountain, and it's unlikely that we're going to need to continue humanitarian airdrops on the mountain.
Jason, did we really need, in your opinion, and from what you're able to see from a distance, special forces going into Mount Sinjar? Were they really necessary? Because to many people, there was not a danger of actually running into ISIS at that time. And we did see a lot of the locals, actually, who were piloting the helicopters and being part of the rescue mission.
Boots on the ground in this situation was 100% necessary, and I'll explain why. First of all, in order for any air assets to really operate safely and effectively in a combat zone, the most effective way to do that is to have someone on the ground that can relay liaison with whatever aircraft that might be. Not only that, but when those operations are taking place, it's also important to have boots on the ground that can liaise with the local population, to give them someone that can explain to them what's happening, explaining that help is on the way, things of that nature. Those are the two main reasons why boots on the ground were crucial and still remain crucial at this time.
I guess that also comes to you too as well, Amber, and your experiences and what you know and what you're able to glean at least, because people are always talking about ground forces have to be in there. We understand that there need to be ground forces to laze targets. You need to have them there to help coordinate airstrikes. But is there any way possible, in your opinion, to be able to do this without putting more troops, advisors, special forces, whatever you want to call them, on the ground?
Well, I think when it comes to this, we need to remember that our national security is at risk here, and so is our allies. And so whatever means necessary to ensure that ISIS does not advance and does not gain those fronts inside of Iraq, to essentially grow and become more powerful and possibly plan attacks on the U.S. or U.S. interests, whatever is needed. So if right now it's certain special forces units and airstrikes and supplying the different Iraqi forces with ammo, intelligence, and weapons, so be it. We have to remember that Obama likes to say that America is war weary, but I don't necessarily think that the American people is war weary. What they're weary of is weak leadership who can't handle a conflict in the Middle East without a coherent strategy to defeat the enemy with an end state. That is what the American people want to see. We know that there's evil out there that needs to be defeated. We need a leader who knows how to do that.
I only have 20 seconds left. I'm going to ask you both a very direct question. If you knew that you were going in to do the job and you were guaranteed everything possible to go in and finish the job, get to an end game, would you go back tomorrow? Amber?
Yes.
All right, Jason?
Without a doubt, yes.
Do you have any doubt that your fellow soldiers would do the same?
I think they would go in and serve their country without a question or doubt.
There you go. Those are the answers. I thank you both for being here today. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Later this hour, one American city is tired of watching a dangerous youthful element take control of their community, and the mayor is doing something about it. And after the break, what would you do if faced with an angry mob throwing Molotov cocktails at you? Bo Dietl joins us when MidPoint continues.